Hello everyone, welcome back. In the last video we were looking at power, how we can get power from the sun and how we can store it in basic battery systems and use it for other things. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll make a card pop up somewhere at the top of the screen and I'll put a link in the description anyway. But in today's video we're going to be looking at something that you can do with some of that stored power, specifically heating. How you can transfer that 12 volt energy from the battery into heat to heat your home, heat your workshop, heat your van, whatever. And the way that we're going to do that is with one of these. This is a 12 volt diesel fired heater, air heater. This one specifically made in China special, but don't let that put you off because these are brilliant. They're so worth the money. You can pick one of these up for less than 100 quid. There's no need to go out and spend the thousands on the name brand stuff, because if you set these up right and you look after them, they work just as well. They do exactly the same thing. Both the cats have got a mouse right next to me. So I think let's head into the workshop and we can have a look, and I'll talk about it a bit more and how you can set this up. So then, I'll give you a little bit of background first, so you know I'm not talking complete rubbish. The room that I'm currently sitting in, the workshop, is being heated by one of these, just over there. I'll show you in a moment. And it has been the whole time since we've been here. This room, currently, sole heater is one of these. There's also one next door, there's also one upstairs. And last winter, which was our first proper winter, you know, living in here, because obviously before that we're in the vans, which also run diesel heaters, but we're not talking about them at the minute. Yeah, all we had, obviously the big fire upstairs, but then the rest of the house was just heated by these. And we got by, you know, it was fine. It was comfortable even. This room, if I turn that heater up full blast, can easily get up to 17, 18 degrees in here. Obviously, a large part of that is the fact that the walls in here are 45 centimetres thick. So, you know, it's going to be different for everybody. So what I want to do is show you how we've used them in this building, how they've worked, because obviously here is quite an extreme demonstration, let's say, because, you know, these were keeping this room warm, nice and comfortable, when it was minus 36 degrees Celsius outside. So they do work. I'm not trying to sell you something here. I mean, we bought all of these, you know. But I believe if you apply these to a different location, you know, somewhere more sensible that doesn't get so cold, they'd be brilliant. I deeply regret not putting one of these in to the workshop I used to have. If you're long-term viewers of this, you'll remember back when I was in England, the workshop there would have been amazing with one of these, bit of insulation, because it was just a normal single garage in the UK. But if I'd have put, say, 50mm insulation all around and on the ceiling and then ran one of these in there, it would have been fantastic. But I didn't think of it at the time. So what is it? For those that don't know and have never come across one of these before, it's an extremely simple piece of equipment, it really is. So all you've got is, inside here, you got like a chamber, it burns diesel inside. Then this thing gets hot. You've got a fan here, and it draws from this way, draws air in through this casing, warms it up, and blows it out of this end. And that's it. And the reason these are so good is because there's no combustion. Obviously, if you're burning something, it's going to give off, you know, smoke and carbon monoxide and all the nasties that you don't want inside your house, obviously. But these are good because on the bottom, this is the air intake and the exhaust just for the internal combustion side of this. So these both go outside. So your intake air and your exhaust is completely separate of the room. The only thing that's inside is this air, which is the room air. that's being circulated around. So all of the nasty stuff goes out of that. To be fair, these actually burn really clean. As long as you got them set up correctly, they burn really nicely. But yeah, you don't have any issues with, you know, carbon monoxide and things like that. But I will say right off the bat, if you're going to do anything like this, any kind of thing that burns, be it a wood burner, one of these, gas version, whatever, you absolutely must buy one of these and put it in the room where this is going. This is a carbon monoxide alarm. It doesn't have to be this fancy, you can get cheaper ones. I like this because it shows the ppm, which is the parts per million in the air, without getting too complicated. Basically, if you have a number on here of anything, you've got a problem. There's safe values, there's definitely not safe values, but in my head, any number, there's an issue. You need to find out what it is. But you must get one of them. And that is really all there is to it. You have a cable here that goes off to a little control box. There's various different brands of these, but there's no point asking me which one's the best to buy, because genuinely they're all the same, pretty much. Minus like slightly different controllers here and there and a different colour case. They are literally the same thing. Just buy the cheapest one you can find, pretty much. Some of them, when you get them, they'll be missing a Jubilee clip or, you know, something like that. As with a lot of things made in China, sometimes you get it and you're missing parts. But it's normally just stupid things like clips and stuff like that, which you can get by. But you can absolutely 100% heat a room with one of these quite easily. We are proof of that. We've done it. Now, obviously the cost of diesel now has gone absolutely stupid. So last winter, because this is all we had downstairs, we were getting through probably 40 to 50 litres of diesel per week in the really cold time. Obviously it, you know, fluctuates and you use less. But then it was okay. It was still quite expensive. But now that would just be insanity. We might as well get electric put in here and use electric heaters. So these for us now, we're still going to keep them, but they're more of a addition, a backup. I will always have one in here because I can use it to make the room more comfortable, you know, because why not? I built it, so I might as well sit in here and have it at 20 degrees if I want to. We now have an additional fire downstairs that we're in the process of doing. So that's going to take over the load from these and they'll become more of a comfort thing. But for, let's just say for example, in the UK, it's kind of the thing for an Englishman to have a garden shed, you know, as a little sanctuary with all the tools and all of that. A normal sized garden shed would be a sauna with one of these, as long as you insulate it. I mean, you could probably heat it quite nicely without insulating it, to be honest. They don't half throw out some heat. But if you put some basic insulation into a normal garden shed and ran one of these, you'd be laughing. You could be sitting in there, you know, enjoying lovely heat, because this would only be on low when the heating in your house is the crazy expensive that it is now. Right, I don't want to sit here and just talk the whole time because you'll probably get bored. So I'm going to show you the setups that we have, that we've used, show you how we've installed it, and you know, we've not had any problems. And yeah, we'll go from there. The first one to show you, which is in here, is going to be a little bit underwhelming, I'm afraid, because you can't see it. But I've recently been experimenting with this bubble foil stuff on all of the windows in here, which does make a massive difference, but that's for another day. But the heater is behind here. The other setups I show you are basically the same, so we can, you know, you can imagine what it looks like. But this is it. This is all you've got inside. So the room air is being drawn into here. It's going through that fan, across the heat sink. It's coming out of this pipe and blown into the room. And then this is the fuel tank for it. You get like a 10 litre or sometimes a 15 litre square thing I just opted for a 20 litre big tank, put it on a little shelf. This is the standoff pipe that you often get with them for tapping into a vehicle fuel tank. So this is just a pipe that runs right to the bottom. I prefer doing it this way rather than drilling a hole here, because you get like a little tap kit with them sometimes. That could leak. This can't leak because it's at the top of the tank. You go through there, through a fuel filter. There's a fuel pump actually outside because it pisses me off. And then that's it. It's as simple as that. And you just have your 12 volt feed from your battery. So this is now giving off, even though it's only ticking over slowly. I don't know if you can hear it through this mic. It's not spooling very quick. It's giving off lovely heat in here. And then just at the top here, this is the controller, or one of the controllers I was talking about. I actually think all the ones in our house now are the same, but sometimes they're different. They do the same thing. You turn it on and off here. You can just change your temperature and it will maintain that temperature. So this is now saying 12 degrees. I had it set to 11. It's just ticking over, doing its thing. If I set this to say 15, 16 degrees, it will sense that and it will speed up and get to that temperature. But that is it. That is a heater being powered by the 12 volt batteries that we've got the energy stored in, and obviously diesel. So this is what it looks like on the outside. Obviously I've got this coming through a window. You don't have to do that. It used to come out just down here, but the fuel pump lives in there with a load of foam. Again, it's just because it annoys me. It might not annoy you. This is the exhaust that I was talking about. That one down there is just an old experiment one, and you can sort of see where it comes through. That's the bottom of the heater just there. So, you know, even if that starts to leak a little bit, it's outside, this is vented, it's not a problem. Obviously you don't want that to leak, so you want to do that up nice and tight. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not very loud. I have experimented using dual silencer. I just noticed that the air intake filter thing has managed to fall off, which is great. Not a big deal really in this setup, but now obviously, you know, that's not the standard. You can do a much neater job than that, and it varies. I'll show you the setup that we've got around the back for the garage one, because it's a bit different. This monstrous cannon that you see here, although it looks hilarious, it does serve a purpose and it does actually work pretty well. So you can see this is where the garage one comes through the wall. Although it's a little bit messy, I just did this so that nothing crawls in there basically. There's a tunnel inside here, metal pipe, and then the exhaust and the intake sit in the middle of that. I heat wrap the exhaust because obviously our building is made of wood and there's insulation in there, and yeah, don't want it getting too hot. So I put a load of this heat wrap around the pipe, and I actually put my hand in there with the heater on full chat and it didn't burn me, so it's not going to burn the wall. That goes down here, little silencer, into another pipe. There's a small drip hole at the bottom of that because it's a low point, and then we transfer into a massive drain pipe and out of here. And believe it or not, it does work really well. There's no back pressure, it doesn't clog up, it all just comes out of here. Reason for that is obviously we didn't want all of the fumes coming out directly here because it would congregate and it might find its way in. That's our living space at the top there. And secondly, because we get so much snow here, if you can imagine it, I know it's quite hard to believe, but we had snow drifted up as high as this door.
Are you sure?
You offered!
It's taller than me!
So that's where we're trying to get to. I've already... that was out here. Yeah. So we need that out of the way, so I can, you know, dig out that in bit and it's fine. But let's go have a look at this one from the inside. Just as we come in the front door, you see this vent up here. We'll get on to what that's for in a minute, but I just thought I'd show you it now. So under here is the other side of the heater. Obviously that exhaust goes out through that wall, and that's the door that we were just looking at. This is what we just looked at, but mounted up on the wall. You see the plate at the back there, and you've got, there's the fuel pump. Obviously this is one of the fuel tanks that you get with them. Same thing again, thing out the top, goes down through a filter, through the pump, and that's it. It works fine, no problem. The pumps do need to be mounted at an angle like that, it's just how they work. But then that just goes through there and out this side here. And then you've got the little controller on the wall there. Obviously this one's off at the minute. And then finally, upstairs we have another one. And this one is out of action at the minute, just because I've been messing with it. So I've not even plumbed this back in yet. But same thing again, just goes through the wall, through a tunnel. I think this one I actually did a plasterboard thing around the metal tunnel as well, just to be extra sure. But yeah, same thing again, into a tank. But this one, when we had it running, I was a bit creative with this. Oh, this is why, because we bought this dresser. So I need to change it. But off the outlet side here, I had this pipe. And you can imagine that was attached onto there. So it came down to a T-piece at the bottom. And it came out one side here, which heated this room. And then the other side went into another pipe. And then that is the vent that I just showed you in the entrance room. And believe it or not, that worked very well. We got good pressure coming out of there and good pressure coming out of there. That heater managed to heat this entire room. Again, the walls in here are 35 centimetres thick and the ceiling is a metre. So, you know, insulation is very different here to the UK, for example. But that heater on its own, before we got the big fire in, was able to warm this room up nicely. It could get it to like 18, 19 degrees in here. Just that one little heater. Obviously now we have the massive gates of hell fire up there. You know, we don't really need to use it, but it's still there as a backup. It's a redundancy thing. You know how I like my redundancies? And you need that here, because if we ever had a problem with that fire, we're screwed, because that's the only heat up there. Being off grid, it's not like you can just flick on the electric heating or something. So we need backups, and that's what these now are for us. Apart from in here, it's more of a luxury. But yeah, as you've seen, these are pretty versatile, good pieces of kit, and you can heat an entire building this size with them if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it because it'll probably cost you a fortune in diesel, but it is possible and we've done it. When we first were doing this and the winter started to set in, before we actually moved in and we had the fire going upstairs, we were just running on diesel heaters while we were painting and all of that, and it was, you know, minus 20 outside every day. So these really saved our bacon. So if you imagine they're 100 quid each, 3 heaters, 300 quid, and that heated this entire thing. Thinking of it on a small scale, as I said, in sheds, in garages, in conservatories, that'd be a fantastic place to have one of these. Now obviously I mentioned the price of diesel suddenly makes these not a permanent heating solution or a single heating solution, which I don't think this should be anyway. I think this is more of a backup comfort kind of thing, you know. Or of course, you know, in a camper van you can basically turn it into an oven if you got one of these, as I found out in my van last week. But you can obviously run other fuels in these. Now I don't think red diesel is available anymore in the UK. I think I remember seeing something about that. But like that would have been perfect. But I'm pretty sure you can run these on all sorts. Old engine oil that you filter, I know that's a method people use. Various other things, kerosene. You don't only have to burn diesel in them, is what I'm saying. So there's probably cheaper options out there. But as a sort of backup emergency heating source for, you know, if your power goes out and it's winter or something like that. All of these threats of power cuts and things in the UK, if it's winter, you know, you've got a problem if you don't have a fire. So something like this would be fantastic. You could have it set up in one room and have that as your warm room and heat that up or something. I don't know. Sky's the limit, isn't it, once you start playing with this stuff. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to say. If you want me to do a video showing our insulation, I can do that. That's not a problem. I know it's quite different to how you insulate houses in the UK. Well, they're built completely differently, aren't they? So, but there's nothing special to it. It's very simple. So if you want that, I can show you that, no problem. And yeah, anything else, any suggestions, any requests for what you want me to show or discuss, please feel free in the comments. Any questions you have about these, again, I'm no expert. I only know what I know from experimenting, you know, but I'll do my best to answer your questions. That about wraps it up, I reckon. So thank you all for watching. Hope you got something useful out of it. I'll see you next time. Catch you in a bit.